So we've seen part of the evaluation, and we understand the importance of it and how we might be able to use it to develop an individual. But what is the evaluation? And what we've tried to do is come up with, if you will, a rubric. And for us older folks, you kind of look at a rubric. Is that a gold rubric or a Goldberg or a Rubik's Cube or something? We don't know what it is. But kids today, they're so familiar with the word rubric. They basically understand this is a set of evaluation criteria, a standard of which they meet to say, okay, here's where you are in this entire process of what do I have to do to get an A or a B or a C. That's what a rubric really is. So I'm using that word because the younger generation is much more familiar with it. Now, the first set of rubrics we're going to talk about are character. And character is something that's relatively easy to say and difficult to evaluate sometimes. And what we've done is we said, all right, if we're going to look for somebody who wants to be a godly leader, a shepherd, well, let's start with the qualities of an elder as the standard reference. Now, when we do that, though, we have to realize that you don't start off and say, until you've achieved the qualities of an elder, we can't let you do anything. You have to realize that that's the ultimate standard that we're trying to reach. Well, Christ-likeness, of course, is. But from a leadership perspective, these are the standards and the qualities that God says is important. And so we start with those. And we want to recognize these qualities and see where people are. And, hey, for where you are in your life, you're doing a great job at this. And you're going to need to mature, and we're going to see that. Because hopefully an elder's older and they've lived enough life to be able to give this kind of a feedback to the person. Something, though, that we found that's very important in this whole process is if somebody is weak in an area, they need to be given some feedback early. Hey, this is an area we think you kind of are struggling in, or this is an area that really could be bolstered. Somebody might grow up in a house that sarcasm was used a lot. And if you're a person who relates to sarcasm, you can go, oh, that was hilarious. But sarcasm is not something that's particularly normative in most households. Therefore, you might say, you need to cut back on your sarcasm because you're now presenting a quality of somebody that doesn't sound gracious. They don't sound pleasant. You might be joking, but you're really hurting the sheep here with this. Give them some feedback on that. Let them know early on so they can work on it. They can develop it. The family, things like that. So that's really important to help a guy understand where they are weak. The other things about this character rubric, and I'm going to be a little nitpicky here, but a quality can be presumed. Okay, I haven't seen you be pugnacious. I haven't seen you be not gentle. I haven't seen you. So I'm right now presuming. I've seen your life, but I'm presuming that you have this quality. But ultimately, that quality has to be tested. You have to have a person eventually be in a situation or a scenario that places them where, well, are you really gentle? Everybody's gentle when things are going their way. But when things aren't going your way, are you gentle? When somebody gets really obnoxious in your classroom and keeps interrupting, can you gently deal with them? And can you tell the difference when you have to be a little more direct? You know, these types of wisdom, these types of qualities. So again, you can presume a quality, but it really needs to be tested ultimately. And something else that's important is character goes along with those roles we mentioned before. And being a facilitator and just helping answer questions and keep people on track is one thing, versus I am the teacher of this class and what I'm saying to you is truth. And if the character of that person's not appropriate, they may go, bang, you need to listen to me. I told you what's going on. That gentleness isn't coming out. So even if the person has all those other skills, the ability to present, if they don't have that character quality, you don't want to put them in that role. And they may need to know that. Well, we aren't going to keep you here because you can't pound on people as a facilitator. When you get to solve these issues, maybe we can make you a presenter, even though you have all those other skills. So that's kind of important. Now, what we've also done is we've tried to categorize things in simple terms. The qualities of an elder are, there's like 24 of them that are listed. And we categorize them in three categories. We just said humility, which is kind of a big overarching character or quality. Interpersonal qualities, in other words, how do I interact with people? And personal integrity. When I'm not interacting with somebody, am I a greedy person? I don't have to be interactive with somebody to be demonstrated as greedy. So again, interactive with people, interpersonal, and then basic humility. And what we did is we tried to sort of map these out, and we sort of said, okay, here's 1 through 24, and we color-coded them. And the blue ones are associated with the personal integrity. The red ones are interpersonal, and the gold are humility. And again, you can quibble, okay, which is what? That's not really the point. The point is to try to be able to describe something in a simple term. If you want to flip them around or change or add them, feel free. This is just the way we did it to kind of make it fit. The other thing that we've also found out in assessing character is that character assessment needs to be not just, okay, how did they do in a classroom? When we're really thinking about a person who's going to be a leader or an elder, you need to be able to say, okay, what's their character as a learner? Do they have an attitude of teachableness? Kind of a strange thing to say, but teachableness is a quality that you got to have if you're going to learn and you're going to grow. You need to assess them in the role that you've placed them in. You need to be able to assess them in times of service. And when they're serving, are they, do this, do this, do this, do this? Are they willing to have a servant's heart and say, hey, I'll dive in and do whatever you want me to do. If you want me to lead, fine. If you want me to go, dig a ditch, I'll go dig a ditch. In their home, in their workplace, in how they counsel, interact with people, in times of fellowship. I remember when I was growing up, I was kind of taken aback by, I was playing sports with one of my pastors, and he cheated. And he cheated, and he kept cheating. And I'm like, I'm a kid, and you're cheating. This is sending a bad message here. So even in fellowship, you can assess the character of somebody. Again, I guess, where he grew up, that wasn't cheating, but it was against the rules. And, my dad was a coach, so I felt cheated. That was just me as a kid. But again, even in fellowship, can you interact? What kind of quality of character do you show? So that's character. But now we have to also look at the a little bit more mundane, but still important as a teacher or a leader. What kind of ability do you have to instruct? And we've devised something that you probably, if you looked at it, you'd kind of go, wow, nobody can meet those standards. Well, that's probably true, because none of us are going to meet all those standards all of the time. But what we did is we tried to say, okay, what does excellence look like? And we're going to be in different places at different times with what that excellence is. But the good thing about it is it helps remind us and refresh us. I haven't really thought about that in a long time. I really need to maybe pay attention to that in my instruction. So what we did is we put these characters together and sort of did an assessment of kind of what each one of those qualities would look like on a 1 to 7 scale. And we have that rubric that's available to you if you want it. But the set we started off with was instructional skills. And we said, okay, in your instruction, not in your presentation, but your instruction, were you organized? Were you clear? Did you interact well? Did you ask good questions? And did you respond to questions in a proper manner? Did you manage your time well? Did you spend 85% of your time on the beginning of this and have to rush to the last 15%? Even if it was all good stuff, you didn't manage your time well. Comfort with material. Going, were you comfortable with it, or you kind of look like you're a scared rabbit up here going, I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm just talking, I'm just looking at my notes. Were you comfortable? Did you stay on topic? I mean, there are some people who you joke and you say, well, that's a rabbit trail, we need to come back on. Some people, when they talk about a topic, you can't tell what's the trail and where's the rabbit trail and where's the main trail, whatever, because they're all over the place. Even though they said all sorts of good stuff, but they never stay on topic. If you want them to teach about the Trinity and they talk about family life, you kind of go, how do these things stay together? You kind of got to stay on topic, because that's what the class is. That's why people came to the class, to hear about the Trinity. These are things you have to pay attention to. Then we have speaking skills. We talk about poise, eye contact, posture, confidence, comfort, elements of how poised and how do you present yourself. Again, these are speaking skills. Volume, elocution. How do you pronounce your words? If you're mispronouncing things all the time, I'm terrible with some of these words. I'm like, I can't understand these words. I really work on trying to pronounce them and say them properly and have good grammar. These are all good things that you have to have. I don't have a powerful voice. The only reason you can pick me up at all is because I have a microphone. Because if you had to listen to me with no microphone, you'd have to stay like 6 feet from me. So I have to work on my volume. And that's a hard thing because I don't like yelling. I like to talk. So these are things that we all work on. Your warmth, your energy, too sluggish, too excited. Whoa, I'm so excited about this. Or, yeah, okay, we're going to talk about the class today. What kind of energy levels do you have? Is it appropriate to the class? You don't get excited when you're talking about funerals. It's not going to work. So, again, hopefully you're excited when you talk about Christ or, what he would have you do. Then we have a class we call personalization skills. And these are things that say, did you take the knowledge and the information and your poise and your confidence, but did you make it applicable? You may know a lot, but did you make it applicable to the people that you're communicating with? Was it suitable for the audience? Talking about Jesus to a 4-year-old is very different than teaching or talking about Jesus to a seminary class. You can talk about a subject, but you can be completely unsuitable to your audience. Audience engagement. Are you even trying to engage the audience? Are they all falling asleep? And of course, we know there are people who fall asleep. Doesn't matter what you do. You can set a stick of dynamite out. They're going to still be asleep. But in general, were they engaged? And then this is kind of a little strange one, but we've noticed this happening is the suitability to the instructor role. If you're a facilitator, for instance, and you say, well, I heard the pastor say that, but here's the real answer. This is what I think should be the right thing. You've just taken on a lack of suitability to your role. You may even be correct, but that's not suitable to your role. You're not there to go tell the elders, the pastor, oh, that was wrong. And tell people that undermines the entire authority. And sometimes you see people who do that. Or conversely, if you're a teacher and you go, oh, wow, I don't really know. I'm really confused on that whole subject. Your role is the teacher. You're supposed to present truth with some confidence, and you're not. That's not very suitable to the role we've given you. And then finally, this is something that comes and goes depending on what class and what situation you're in, what environment you're in, as we talk about multimedia use. And a lot of people go, well, I got to have all this multimedia because that's the latest thing. Well, not necessarily. Scribble on the board maybe, is that your multimedia? Do you hand out notes? And if you do, are the notes relevant? Or did you teach this way and the notes were that way? The notes didn't help anybody because you taught over here. Did you provide it? Or, you have a dictionary worth of notes and you're like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about because there's just too much detail in it. Visual aids, appropriateness. Maybe you shouldn't have visual aids. Or, wow, the picture, it was worth 1,000 words and it was appropriate to put that picture in everything that you were trying to do. So we can see that these instructional characteristics, that's a big list. It is. I mean, we admit it. It's a big list. But it really is a nice thing to say, have I looked at myself lately? Have I even thought about this stuff lately? It's not church or I say, oh, you didn't get a 7 on this one, so you can't do it. It's like, well, maybe that's an area you want to work on. Let's talk about that. So, evaluation criteria, character and instruction. These are all the different kinds of things that will really help people, if given in a gracious and loving way, in a consistent manner, to help them grow and develop. All of us do. I know I watch myself on videos every once in a while, and I go, you've got to be kidding me. I said 27 times. I need to remember that. Or I started with the same phrase. I do that. That's a bad characteristic I have. I start with the same phrase when I begin an introduction. If you do that all the time, it kind of gets boring. So you got to learn. All of us do. I've been teaching for years and years and years and years, and I still realize how much I have to learn. So we all have to be humble. We have to be learners in all these things. So, evaluation, a rubric, and some standards to work from.